I didn't get a chance to watch episode 8 of WandaVision until today, so I'm going to talk about it a little bit now. Kind of like last week, I feel like there's not as much to talk about this time around as far as theorizing about what's happening, because it seems like things are starting to slow down, and some of those earlier theories that people had, or, especially that I had, maybe aren't coming to fruition. Like at this point, I don't really know how Ultron is going to come into all of this. There maybe is a chance, just because we're going to go into spoilers right away with this video, obviously, because if you're not keeping up with WandaVision, I don't know why you're watching like any recap of it or review or just any theories or thoughts on the episodes. But I'll just say generally, I did like it. I liked the episode. I've been really liking the series in general. I don't think I like this episode as much as some of the previous episodes, just because the series on a whole, I don't know how much it adds to the overall story. I think it adds more to the character and things that specifically people who really like the character from the movies probably needed a little more of, which was just some development. Before, Wanda had a backstory, and there was she had her moments and scenes that kind of showed the grieving side of her, the loss side of her, but it was never paid attention to enough. I mean, the movies that it went into it the most was Age of Ultron, and the other one would be Civil War, and those are movies that have tons of superheroes in them. And she's got some moments in Infinity War, which kind of helps to develop the relationship between her and Vision, but again, it's a movie that's full of other characters, so it's cool that they finally have a chance to focus on that. And this episode especially really focused on her character and her history, and they actually even recreated some of the moments that we've heard about from the other movies. But going into spoilers about it right away, the end of this episode has an after credit scene where they are actually reviving Vision's body. We already kind of learned previously, I had a thought that maybe Scarlet Witch, who had stolen Vision's body, or allegedly did, maybe she had him floating around, and we had got a glimpse of him at one point where his head was destroyed, and I thought, oh, is it just his body being manipulated by Wanda's powers? But we've discovered after he tried to escape the hexagon that he is actually made by the hexagon, because he was being destroyed not the way that a robot, his actual robotic parts would be destroyed, but more just they were part of the hexagon itself. So she was created in the image of Wanda as well, and is not actually anything to do with the Vision's real body. We found out in this episode that actually the Vision's body wasn't stolen by Scarlet Witch. That was a lie. They lied about it. Hayward did, which I don't think they're going to reveal him as a big Marvel bad guy, but more just a bad guy who works for S.W.O.R.D., or at least doesn't have everyone's best interest in play, which is great. So they're just S.H.I.E.L.D. again. S.W.O.R.D's just another S.H.I.E.L.D., but not surprising, and definitely going to be looking forward to more of that coming into the movies and the other TV shows. But Vision's body shows up at the end and is recreated, reanimated, and like I said, it was possible that they could do it because it is still a robot. They just don't have the stone, and it was theorized in Infinity War that maybe if you take the stone out, the best parts of him will still be there, but we don't know if that's true. He might end up being evil, but who knows? I mean, they could go anywhere with it, but that's where I started to wonder, maybe, just possibly, that's when Ultron's going to come into it. Maybe they used Ultron to kind of bring him alive, because like I said, the AI version of Ultron might still be out there, and that might be the secret key ingredient that would be needed to bring Vision together. Even though he was already slightly part of Ultron, he was part of many different things, maybe they just were going to use more of Ultron's AI to bring him back to life, because maybe it's still alive. I'm just trying to find ways to get James Spader back into it. But yeah, other than that, theorizing about things, we found out from the last episode that Agnes was actually a witch character from the original comic books that I had no knowledge of. But, a lot of people were already theorizing that could be that character, and it turned out it was, and that she was behind a lot of the manipulation, emotional manipulation at Wanda herself. But this episode made it clear that she has no part in the hexagon itself. She was attracted to the hexagon probably because she sensed the magic that was at play. They actually show her history at some point. The beginning of the episode's actually in Salem, And instead of like a typical like witch burning where the townspeople were accusing a woman of being a witch, it's actually the other witches who are accusing this witch of using her magic for wrong, and they try to destroy her, but they all fail. And it's like, oh, she's like the epitome of evil, and it's all these years later, so she's a very strong witch, but she's still impressed by Wanda's powers, and she's trying to figure out how she created this hexagon and did all the things that she did, because it's beyond even what she can do. So she obviously has, I think at this point, there's no, I don't think they're leading into anything that shows that Wanda's being controlled by anybody, or that, you know, like Agatha had anything to do with the hex herself. I think she's just trying to get info about how she was able to do this, and she's trying to find it through, I think, the emotional history of Wanda, and that gives an excuse to see and recreate some of the moments that we've heard about within the movies. So like we see Wanda get the powers for the first time. We see when her home was destroyed and there was that bomb, that missile that was just blinking for 2 days straight and never blew up, but they were freaked out about it. We actually see that all come, play out. And when you see an additional scene with her and Vision, sometime around when Civil War took place. They don't explicitly say if it's before or after, but it's around that time. And those before they started a full relationship. But Vision has some really good lines there about grief. And, that's the thing. A lot of this episode is, as a story, well, not even like really storytelling, but just on an emotional level, the episode is very good and nails down a lot of emotion that really wasn't present with these characters before. The storyline and the backstory was there, but I don't think they necessarily had the emotion just because they didn't really have the time to go into it in the movies. Here, they actually have the time. We saw it earlier in the episode where they did kind of the 80s and 90s, when her and Vision kind of have a fight at the end of the episode. They are really, the actors are doing a phenomenal job in that scene. And, we're starting to see sides of these actors and these characters that we've never seen before in the movies. So this episode really dedicates it all to Wanda, her history, how she ended up where she is. But they don't still really give you an idea of where the finale's headed. We don't really know exactly what Agatha's plan is beyond this. It seems like she wants to figure out how, Scarlet Witch did it. She kidnaps her kids, and she's definitely going to hold them hostage. And but I still don't fully understand what she's planning on doing or how she exactly hopes to get out of Wanda what she wants, which is, I guess, more power. But it seems that that's being built up as the ultimate, bad guy of the series. There's a couple things that they didn't really dig into again. For instance, the townspeople aren't really seen anymore. We don't really see Vision or I'm trying to remember her name, but Kat Dennings' character from Thor. We don't see them. We don't see anyone outside the Hex for the most part until the after credits scene. We also don't see anything about, like, leading into the next episode, the final episode, apparently episode 9 will be the final episode. It's just kind of building up that, something's going to go down. And we've already sort of seen the trailer that, they're going to try to defend their town, but we're still not given a clear answer exactly what's going to happen, but it's building up that Agatha is like the main villain, and I don't think there's anything else that's going to be introduced beyond that. There is apparently still a secret cameo out there. Like I said before, I'm still kind of leaning that it definitely will be Magneto, either Fassbender or Ian McKellen. Fassbender would make more sense just because age-wise he could show up in the movies more. McKellen would make sense just because, like I said, he was like one of the first people to get the COVID shot, so I always kind of thought he did that because he had to do some work, maybe for this show. I'm still leaning that it's probably Magneto. My exciting side of me really thinks it's going to be Wolverine, which would be awesome. And there's another part of me that thinks it's probably just going to be Doctor Strange, and that's it. Which, regardless, I think Doctor Strange will show up in it. Possibly Loki, though, too, because, Loki is going to be doing some crazy stuff with his TV show, which will also involve the multiverse. It's just interesting that we're getting towards the end of the series, and the multiverse is becoming much more of, like, a footnote rather than, like, a big part of this show. It kind of was all along. I think they were starting to get the idea that the multiverse was being opened up with this show, and that maybe it was caused by Wanda going, causing the hexagon and everything, but maybe it broke some holes through the universes, but I don't know. What's interesting is that it's like Evan Peters' character. I don't even know if we're going to get a definitive answer on that, if he is in fact the Peter from the X-Men films. I believe he is, but I don't know if we're going to explicitly get that answer or see anybody else even from the other X-Men movies and, you know, kind of help to confirm the multiverse. It might just be there and might not get confirmed until later. But there was the after credit scene from last episode that showed that he was teaming up with Rambo, so it's possibly still going to happen. We don't know, but they weren't in this episode at all, but I assume they'll be in the next one. So good episode. They show that, you know, she used to love these TV shows as a kid, and that's why she kind of recreated her life to be centered around those TV shows. She found Westview because it was actually the location for a house that Vision wanted to live there with Wanda at. And I thought it was really cute, but it's kind of a rundown, smaller town. And a lot of people kind of look sad, so I think that was part of why she made that a hexagon, because not only was she going to create her life she wanted with Vision, but she was also going to improve everyone else's life, even though inadvertently she's actually kind of ruining them, because as Vision tapped them out of the reality, they're like, oh my god, I'm in so much pain, what's going on? There's also some interesting things, like Deborah Jo Rupp's character is shown when they do a flashback showing Wanda arriving in the town, seeing all the townspeople before making the hex. And Deborah Jo Rupp's character is alone. She doesn't have a husband with her, even though in the first episode she had a husband. And in that episode, that husband started choking, and some people are theorizing that actually her husband's dead. But that Wanda actually brought him back to life, and possibly the way he died was choking on something. And it's kind of referring to that, and it's like these people that she brought back from the dead, you know, are still trying to revert back to what their original selves were, which is, like, in his case, he was dead. He's in the real world. He's not alive. So some interesting tidbits like that, which I don't know if they're going to play into that a little more. I think that is just mostly there for the audience to dig into, but not like it's going to become an important part of the later episodes. But the only thing I'm getting out of this, so I don't really have any other theories beyond what's going to happen. I think there is going to be a big battle. I think Agatha is just the final villain. I still have a wonder if Ultron is going to be controlling that version of Vision that was created by Sword, and I wonder if he's going to be an evil Vision or not. We'll see. I think there is going to be a very emotional, compelling ending that could either turn Scarlet Witch into the villain of Doctor Strange 2, or that it's going to kind of subvert people's expectations and make her not a villain, and kind of fight back on that typical trope of, oh, the woman given too much powers and she goes crazy. Like, I think they might subvert it because they did so with Captain Marvel. But the only other really big theory I have is that there's some people who have still said there might be a secret episode 10, which kind of makes, I feel like that would be a much more round number, even number to kind of end it on anyway. I feel like it would make sense to have a solid 10 episodes. So, the only reason that maybe isn't true is because Marvel is releasing like something like every week. And next week will be in March. I don't have the dates exactly, but it's the next Friday of March, because the Friday after that, after the last episode of WandaVision airs, the Friday after that, they're going to have the documentary premiere on the new show Marvel Assembled. And so there's like the idea of that, well, there's not even enough time to have a 10th episode, because they're not going to premiere the secret 10th episode the same day as the documentary. They're probably going to air the documentary the week after the last episode airs. So they're timing everything out where basically like we're going to get something, because I think Falcon and Winter Soldier starts airing that Friday after Assembled premieres, which premieres after the series finale of Wanda. So they're like getting a lot of different Marvel stuff out. But here's my theory. A lot of people said that there's just doesn't seem to be enough time for what could possibly be a 50-minute, maybe even an hour-long episode for a finale, for all this extra stuff we've seen in the trailer and all these extra storylines they have going on. And if they bring Evan Peters back into it and the people outside the hexagon, like there's just a lot of stuff that they still kind of need to wrap up. Are they able to do it in one episode, let alone, you know, like have an hour to do it? Here's my theory. So episode 10 wouldn't make sense to air on the Friday after, just because, like I said, you're kind of running out of time. They already scheduled that Friday for a documentary. I don't think they're going to air a secret 10th episode the same day they air the making of documentary. But then I remembered something. When the show started, they aired, on the first day it started, 2 episodes right away. It didn't start with 1 episode and then an episode a week. They aired 2 episodes for the first day. I'm wondering if next Friday they're going to post 2 episodes, a 9th episode and a 10th episode, both around 47 to 50 minutes long, that could really wrap everything up. Because